So at the time of this recording, I'm just a little over 6 weeks into running this cold outreach campaign inside LinkedIn. And that LinkedIn might be where you're watching this video, in fact. And it's going really well. Now, what I did was I got some help setting up a system for sending out connection requests, and then part of the system that's created is helping to help me deliver some follow-up messages. But a lot of it is me in there responding to the connection requests and anything that comes through subsequent conversations. That's me doing it, not a robot or anything. And I wrote all the messages and stuff myself. But I got help getting a system set up to do this. And so as a result, it's really bumped up my connection requests and follower count. And the best part is that I have like 9 more months of these connection requests rolling out. Now, I have targeted these connection requests. So it's not just like anybody that's out there in LinkedIn. I'm using Sales Navigator to really like narrow in on who the possible good fits might be, future good fits. Right now, it's just about just establishing the connections and establishing and building some relationships and trust and all of that kind of stuff. So that has got me thinking a lot about just the strategies behind doing outreach, especially cold outreach. And the fact that it really doesn't matter so much about the strategy. I mean, what I've just kind of explained in brief here is probably more advanced than what a lot of people are doing inside LinkedIn. I mean, I'm using some specific tools. I did invest in a really super awesome former client who has a great system already that, process of doing this. And so I made some investments there, and I chose to do that because I'm really trying to leverage my time and just take advantage of some of the automation that is available to us, to all of us, right, through different software and stuff. So even though that what I'm doing might be, more advanced or more at scale than what other people are doing, it doesn't really matter because the principles of doing cold outreach are the same, whether you're doing it inside LinkedIn or you're sending an email or you're showing up at in-person events or however you're doing your outreach and follow-up. There are some key principles, and especially when it comes to cold outreach, because that's the part that's particularly hard for people for obvious reasons, right? Like it's like approaching strangers, and then all the mindset stuff that comes with that. So I did want to share some principles because these are important. The thing is the tactics will change over time, right? The tools are going to change. Especially right now, and we're in this era of like the AI explosion and stuff, and the tools are they're evolving faster than you can ever keep pace with, even more than ever before. I used to think this like 15 years ago, and now it's like, holy crap. So, but these principles hold true. And I think that's the main thing, is that if you don't understand the principles behind what you're doing, then when the tactics need to change or the tools evolve, then that's where things can go awry, right? Because you don't have a good understanding, like grounding you in what is working and what doesn't, regardless of the tool or the tactic. So I just want to share a few of those with you right now. First of all, your messaging has to be on point. I mean, any marketing approach you're going to take is always going to center first on messaging. What are you trying to say, and who are you saying it to, and all of that goes in, that's involved with messaging. But you have to also be listening to the market in order to craft that messaging, which means, this is my second point, is you have to be willing to adjust your messaging. So yes, there's a step to figure out like, what is it that I need to say based on what's going on in the marketplace and what I as, whether it's you individually or you as your company, want to communicate, right? There's like a blend of that. But then it has to also adjust to what you're seeing in response and what you're hearing in response. Okay, so that's point number 2, is that messaging will have to be in response to your market. So you have to listen to what's going on. You have to pay attention and be willing to shift a little bit. Be willing to make tweaks and be able to do that on the fly. And let me tell you, you cannot do this if your messaging is just sitting in a Google Doc and rotting away. Like, that's just not how messaging doesn't get better until it's out there in front of people and people are interacting with it. That's the only way you're going to know, am I on point with my messaging or not? Okay, so those are the first 2 things. The second one is you cannot scale your efforts without systems. You just cannot do that, whether it's with your outreach or anything you're doing in your business, really. So across your business, you want to be looking at your systems. But when I'm talking about right now with doing like outreach, systems are so key. And I think even things like when it comes to cold outreach, where I don't know, there's that level that feels sort of impersonal, and it's easy for the mind to kind of get caught up in the whole, like, well, what if these people don't want to hear from me, and all that chatter. I think having just systems in place is even more important to keep you just sort of focused and like, okay, I'm just following the steps here and what needs to be done. And sometimes those systems involve some tools, right? Or other people to help you. So, and you just cannot do it all by yourself. And as I shared before, I invested in setting up a system for doing this outreach, maybe more complex than what other people are doing, but that was my choice because I'm really trying to leverage my time right now. So once you have the system, you have a machine essentially, but machines need fuel to run. Like machines just do not run on their own. You've got to feed it, right? You have to feed the machine, and it needs fuel, and the fuel is your content. Okay, so this is a huge area where people get tripped up, is how do I continually feed the machine? I don't have time to create the content, and I don't know what to say, and like all that stuff, right? Well, I'm not going to get into the particulars of all of that in this video, but just to recognize the fact that you can't just set up the system or the process or whatever it is that you're doing and not run it, right? Like not give it fuel to run. I will cover in another video, how to really look at the fuel, right? Because that is it's such a challenge for so many people, especially when you are an owner operator in your business where you are on the front lines with your clients and you're having to do, manage everything else, even when you have help, right? But when you are the leader of the marketing that's happening in your business from a thought leadership perspective, from just the unique perspective and all of that comes with it, with content, you have to have a way to keep yourself able to generate that. So you've got fuel for your system. Okay. So you have to continually fuel the system. You also have to do the mindset work to get over the fact that you might be bugging people or worried that you're going to be bugging people. And you know what? Some people are going to think you're bugging them, and that's okay, right? Like you might even get some nasty, uncalled for responses to your outreach when you're doing cold outreach. People are going to just assume, some people will, that you're pitching even when you're not. But you just have to, that's just part of what happens. And especially as you scale your outreach, you'll see that more frequently because you're now dealing with a higher quantity and maybe even more quickly than if you were just to do everything sort of manually. Okay. So there's going to be a little bit of a trade-off there. And again, it's all mindset related stuff that it's just really their story, and you don't know what their story is. They don't know what your story is. You don't know them. They don't know you. And you just got to move on. And I know I've had to do a lot of work around this, and I'm just a natural people pleaser, and I want to make sure everybody's happy with me, all that kind of stuff. So I've had to practice getting past being misjudged, essentially, is what it sort of comes down to. Being misinterpreted, however you want to say that. So the mindset piece is really huge here. And that's another area I would probably say that's maybe second. I don't know. They're all important, but that might be the second biggest reason why marketing doesn't work for people, or why marketing doesn't happen. It's really down to the mindset, right? Fear of rejection, fear of visibility, all that stuff, right? But anyway, the point here is to just kind of outline these principles, because the principles hold true regardless of the tool or the tactic. So what I would love is to hear from you. Does any of these resonate with you in terms of principles that you're practicing right now, or maybe principles you haven't been practicing, that you recognize are missing as part of like the foundational approach to your outreach and your follow-up? I'd love to hear about that. I'd also totally happy to hear stories about outreach instances gone wrong, things that I have some funny stories that I won't share here, but hit me up and I'm happy to share funny stories about that. And sometimes with this kind of stuff, you just got to laugh. You got to laugh at yourself. You got to laugh at the situation. And then, like I said, move on. Last message I just want to leave with is that there are really awesome people everywhere. So this whole idea of approaching strangers and stuff, it can feel awkward and uncomfortable and stuff, but it's also so neat when you get connected with really amazing people. And so I look back and think of all the people in my life right now, and people who've been in my life that I've met actually through just outreach, right? Like I initiated that outreach, and I'm so grateful for that. And so just always remember that too. There are good people everywhere. And so get out there and meet those good people and let me know how it goes. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.